At home, my parents didn't cook a lot of chicken at this point until we were older, and we were like, we want the butter chicken. So a lot of like okra, a lot of like bangan bharta, eggplant, a lot of aloo gobi, cauliflower. Cabbage is called band gobi, closed cauliflower.
This is Taste. I'm your host, Matt Rodbard. Here are two classic conversations on This is Taste. Himanshu Suri is best known by the rap name Heems. He was formerly in the group Das Racist. You may remember the combination Pizza Hut and Taco Bell song. But he's also the biggest fan of Punjabi food that I know. It's his culture, and we really get into it. It's a great conversation. Also appearing is James Harris, co-founder of Throwing Fits, which is one of my favorite podcasts and communities out there. It's just fun hanging with James, talking about Brooklyn, talking about fashion. Honestly, Heems and James Harris, I couldn't think of two better folks to put together. I love these classic conversations on This is Taste. Himanshu Suri, welcome to Taste Podcast.
Thank you. What's up?
Yo, Heems, it's cool to talk to you. I think I've been following your career since early.
I apologize. I'm sorry.
It's cool. No, Dash Racist, man. You guys are, I think, underrated. I'm just going to be that guy.
I'll take it.
3 Feet High and Rising, one of my favorite albums. What you've done with your two mixtapes in particular, that's the 3 Feet High of my growing up in New York.
Yeah,
as an adult.
We get associated with the Beastie Boys and De La Soul, which was awesome. I wish I had thought about that while we were pitching record labels, because they just looked at us and scratched their heads, and I should have just been like, De La Soul, Beastie Boys, I'll sign right here,
I want to get into your growing up in Queens, living in Long Island, but let's talk about labels. Like, you must have been taken out when you were really being courted by labels for food and stuff.
Oh, yeah, like early on, we would get taken out. A&Rs like to kind of meet up with you and then not do anything, just so if you blow up, they could be like, yeah, remember us from back then.
Yeah.
But we also didn't have developed palates or taste, because it was just fresh out of college and stuff. Not that I would have done anything differently. I could think of two meals. One was, we loved Shanghai Cafe on Mott Street, and actually we had multiple. That was our go-to spot for soup dumplings, xiaolong bao.
Yeah,
and we'd always say it's like a humbling food. It would level the playing field to see this A&R kind of
sucking on an XLB.
Yeah,
definitely.
Exactly.
Yeah,
and so that, and I feel like I went to diner in Williamsburg once.
Yeah.
And then I had a high-powered rap lawyer, and he accidentally forwarded me something for another rapper where they went to I think it was one of Batali's restaurants, and it was that oh, you're taking these people out to fancy shit, and
and an unfortunate forward from a label or from a lawyer is pretty great. I feel like that's honestly what rap music is built on, is unfortunate circumstances like that.
I love that. Karma. Yeah, kismet. That's an Indian word. Boom.
Kismet is so good. Okay, you grew up in Queens. You went to You went to Stuyvesant High School. Graduated in 2003. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is an era. I want to get into your food growing up, because you're in two worlds, right? You're living in Queens, but you're downtown. You're in Stuyvesant. So what's food like when you're in high school?
Yeah, it's still, again, high school. It wasn't that different. It was an extension of my childhood food. So, I grew up where outside of Indian food at home, working class, food from outside wasn't regular, maybe regular once a week, but, New York City pizza, one, and then Chinese food from the local spot, two. Occasionally, so we could fit in McDonald's, but no beef in the house.
Okay.
So only the chicken nuggets.
Yeah.
And
18 piece or 6?
Well, back then, I guess 18, me and my sister.
Yeah.
But also, I remember my dad would stop off on the train back from his job. He push papers at hospitals for the city, and he would pick up turkey subs from this one spot on Jackson Heights that would do a hero and a tropical fantasy soda for $2.50. And it was foreign to me. It was we didn't I ate bologna sandwiches. I never ate turkey. And so I look back at that, like how fucking spoiled I've become now, where like I was so happy when dad would bring home a turkey sub, you
Yeah.
know? And then Stuyvesant, you know, we got to leave for lunch, which was different for
Oh,
most public
yeah.
high schools in New York. So same thing, pizza. I remember one time we went to get pizza and like my buddy goes up and he's like, I'll have a regular slice. And then I go up and the guy goes, "What do you want? A Supreme?" 'Cause I was a heavy guy. And this fucking asshole, I think about him every
What a
week.
triggering piece of shit, man. What a bad thing to say to
There's
a
no
kid.
reason to do that. He wasn't like that skinny himself. And
No,
like,
of course he
he
wasn't.
thought I wanted like the meat lover. And man, I really,
Yeah.
yeah, that should hurt. But yeah, I remember once there, I went to McDonald's and I saw the rapper Dragon from Rough Riders.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
another little food memory I have
Did he
is
roll up in a four-wheeler? I feel like Rough Riders guy got to roll up in a four-wheeler.
nah, he had a shitty car. He probably had a shitty record deal. He had a shitty career. I hope he never listens to this. I doubt it. And
Possibly.
there was this like high-end restaurant called Acapella in Tribeca, and we used to steal their bread in the morning on our way to school. So that was a memory I have, like the loaves of bread hanging outside the restaurant.
I mean, I know the Khalees song. That's all I know about acapella. I gotta say, like, stealing bread is a really great New York City story.
Yeah.
It's good. What about like a Punjabi cuisine in your house?
Oh, also,
Were you guys cooking that?
what was it? Pakistan Tea House was this
Ah.
like small, like, cabbie spot in Tribeca that we used to like going to. At home, my parents didn't cook a lot of chicken at this point until we were older and we were like, we want the butter chicken.
Yeah. Yeah.
So a lot of like okra, a lot of like
Mhm.
bangan bharta, eggplant, a lot of aloo gobi, cauliflower,
Mm-hmm.
and then cabbage is called bund gobi. Closed cauliflower
Yeah.
is called. We would have that,
Mm-hmm.
and just typical kind of vegetarian Punjabi fare.
Yeah.
Nothing too crazy.
Did your mom have like a spice box, a daba by the kitchen? Was it kind of that kind of?
Oh yeah, I love that thing.
So cool.
Namak dani, or yeah. So you got your red pepper, your salt, your coriander, your garam masala, your haldi turmeric. Yeah, we
Mhm.
still that's no Indian home is complete without that.
I love that. It's so cool to see how technical that cooking can be with the daba box. I mean, it's crazy. It's so tempering spices is rad. I mean,
That's so funny you say technical because I associate it with the opposite.
I know. This is an interesting topic.
Yeah, I mean, trying to learn food from my mom. All Indian parents are like, you just throw in this, you
Yeah.
throw in that, which people know. But my mom also kind of wanted to reinforce these gender roles for a while, where she was like, "You're a boy. Why would you want to
Yeah.
learn that?" And I'd be like, "This is bullshit."
You really wanted to cook with her.
Yeah, I wanted
Damn.
to learn.
Yeah.
Eventually, during COVID, after my father passed and we were living together,
Yeah.
so I did get a little bit more of it. But in many ways, I learned from just peeking over her shoulders. I learned from smell a lot.
Yeah.
So I like to think it's probably bullshit, but that I can smell like a dish and be like, "This is done. This smells like mom's," you know?
Yeah.
But for me, as like not technically trained, it's such a colorful visual of the spice kit that like I think of it kind of like a dish as a palette, all these cliche shit, but like
Mhm.
a little bit of the red, a little bit of the orange, a little bit of the white, a little bit of the brown, and I kind of, look at it like that, like some like abstract kind of like art where I'm just throwing in
Mhm.
bits until it smells right
Until
to
it
me.
smells right, and that's when I say technical too. Just to back up, I don't like saying complexity because that's like such a trite and bad word, but it's not like taking the Paul Newman's jar of marinara and dumping it in pasta, which
Right.
certain kitchens, mine growing up, made. So when you were growing up, you had a daba box, you had the red and the black.
Yeah.
It's different.
You know what's funny? I've spoken about this before too, but now with all these kinds of like DTC brands
Yeah.
and like and not just from like Americans, but from Indians too. Like I was asked, like, what do your parents do? Like, do they cook with the pre-made butter chicken spice mix or chicken tikka spice mix? And like, yeah, they fucking do. They've lived in America for 30 years.
Maya Kamal.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with.
Yeah, Maya Kamal does these standard stir sauces that are pretty sweet. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it saves time. They taste great. For my mom, she doesn't cook with a lot of meat, so they're probably better than she thinks she can make. And so, we use the pre-made spice kits just as much. I mean, it's
Yeah.
hard to make your like dirty spice masala. Like,
Nah.
no, not happening.
I have to shout out Amrit Singh's doc Dosa Hunt, which I saw when it came out, and it's such an underrated, underseen, amazing film. And you're on that crawl with him and a bunch of musicians.
Yeah.
Do you still eat dosa with some of those guys?
Oh man. Yeah, I kind of like executive produced that with Amrit. We like, you know, came up with the idea together, and then
Shout out to Emrit. Yeah.
yeah, he's out in LA. He's like a news reporter
He's
now.
on TV. Yeah, he's a good guy.
He's great, man. He's great. Yeah, I don't talk to all of them. I do talk with Anand Wilder from Yesayer a lot.
Yeah.
We regularly text. He sent me some beats recently for some music I'm working on, and he was the one who, like, after that day was like, I got to make this myself, and like so he definitely made like dosa right after that, and then I talk with Vijay Iyer a lot, the pianist, the professor, the fucking man.
Yeah.
I've like forced the mentor title upon him.
Yeah.
So I do keep in touch with them. I last saw Rostam years ago. He's obviously familiar with like Persian cooking from his family.
He's extremely skilled in the kitchen, I've heard.
Oh, really?
I've never met Rostam, but I know that dude's got a kitchen in LA. Does a lot of parties. I've heard on the DL.
That adds up, yeah.
Yeah.
So that was like a fun little kind of quirky idea we had, and Amrit really made it happen. So that was cool. Shouts out him.
It's like food media. Like I wish more folks would have like funded that kind of stuff, and like it's kind of where we were heading. And then whatever happened with like Instagram, doc film wasn't as viable, I guess. Not this isn't a show about the future of media, but I feel like that film. I wish there was more. I wish it was a series.
Yeah, I guess there is a lot more stuff kind of like in Netflix and stuff like that, but it was cool.
True.
To just focus on like dosa for that day.
Yeah.
And it was like a quick shoot, short doc, and it'd be cool to do something like that again.
A link to in the show notes. I want to ask you about Tony Bourdain. You were on his show a couple times.
Yeah.
And I mean, you did a song and you were in the fridge, and that's like a classic song. I love that song.
Yeah.
That moment. And then you did a sit down with him too.
Yeah.
I guess, let me ask you, when you shoot with Tony, what's going through your mind?
Yeah, man, he was amazing. He was really amazing. He was one of those people where like for him to kind of even speak to me, let alone like work with me, was one of those moments where it's like not about like money or fame or clout. Like the validation of your peers is just immense, you know, when we do these kinds of things. And, you know, early on, Helen Cho, amazing.
Shout out to Helen Cho. Love Helen.
Amazing person. I think she put it in front of him that I had rapped about, like, and it's funny, it wasn't even his food as much as his style, just wearing T-shirts and jeans and just this kind of like downtown kind of punk figurehead, and the book, of course. And so we got to do the rapping thing, but it was over a green screen, so I never met him at that point.
Yeah.
Then he reached out doing the Punjab episode and was like, each episode is based on like a film, and he was so hands-on with the music. He would send me notes back, and it wasn't like his producers. He would be like, I love this. I'd like you to do this. And, you know, not a lot of notes, nothing like OD. But I worked with a producer where we took sounds of my mom cooking at home and turned that into a beat. So like the sound of the roti hitting the tawa, the frying pan like thing. And the sound, I think, my niece crying in the background. And then for Vietnam, they have for Houston, my bad, they have a big Indian population as well. So there, he was like, how do you feel about doing like the national anthem, but like with a sitar or something? And I was like, you know, that's a great note to lead with.
Yeah.
And the American national anthem, to be clear.
Yeah, okay. I was like, what are we talking about here? We're talking about,
So
the guy.
Yeah, like it was cool because he was more hands-on than somebody that you would think of that level. And then finally, I met him at like a punk show for Danny Boyan's band downtown, and we kicked it a little bit there. We used to message a lot on Twitter and stuff.
Yeah.
That's how like most of our communication worked. And then to sit down with him was amazing. I was like coming off of like a tour with Sweatshop Boys, and I was like terribly hungover and tired, and it was like a day I'd been looking forward to for ages. And I remember the Chinese restaurant that we
Yeah.
like took him to. It wasn't even that good,
Up in
man.
your old neighborhood?
Up in Flushing. It was
Yeah.
just like conveniently located next to my Hindu temple, and they had
Yeah.
soup dumplings. So I would just like leave the temple and like go eat soup dumplings. But it was the type of place where like the cooks are smoking cigarettes in the kitchen, and it just felt like it reminded me of like like going to tour in China and eating there. But Lhasa fast food, the Tibetan place, was really dope.
Yeah.
The owners are great people, and yeah. Tony, when I wanted to start a restaurant, would say things like, "Don't fucking put any of your money into it."
Yeah,
Like,
good advice. Good
don't-
advice.
Like, don't put your credit into it.
Yeah.
Like, maybe partner with someone. When I would talk to him about recovery and like quitting dope, he would say things like that's what you're going through now, like your body's like temperature clock must be all kinds of fucked up, and like everyone's got to eat a shit sandwich, you get to decide how big it is.
Sounds like a Tonyism right there. I mean, it had to be only from that guy. Would you say something like that?
Amazing. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
a couple, what else he would say, like statistically I knew that like the other night, like 1 out of 20 people in the room I was doing dope in would die, and like I had the most work to do. And I know one message that I really like appreciated was just like you're doing the best work of your life. Like watch out for yourself, protect yourself.
Yeah.
And that was just like out of the blue, where it's like, oh, he's like keeping up on like what I'm doing, my
Yeah.
recovery, my work, and so yeah, caring guy.
Generous guy. I've talked about my personal relationship with him on the show, and just real generous guy. And what a fucking pity
Yeah.
what happened.
Yeah, yeah, that was a really tough time for so many people.
Yeah.
I didn't handle that well for a while, but yeah.
You join a lot of people who mourned in for a long time about Tony. I want to ask you about Mumbai. You lived there. You lived in Mumbai.
I stayed in Mumbai. I lived in Goa for like 4 months.
More Goa than Mumbai. Okay.
Yeah. But I was back and forth a lot.
Okay.
I was in Goa to do like a performance art residency, and then I just liked it so much I rented a place to stay. But I mean, what I could say about my time in India was that some of the best food I had was in people's houses, and like their like home cooks were just phenomenal. And like for me, growing up eating like Punjabi food, to eat fish curry and like shrimp curry, like everyday prawn curry in Goa at people's homes was just like fucking amazing. Even when I went back in February, there's amazing restaurants in Goa. But
This past February, you were just there. Yeah.
yeah, I went in February for like some work stuff, but also to bring my dad's ashes back to India, which like was 2 years delayed because of COVID. But I didn't end up going to any restaurants in Goa. I just ate at my friends' homes, and they would have these feasts, and really like the quality of as we all grew up knowing this, of like the home cooks and our moms and stuff, and like the far surpasses like a lot of restaurants. So that was the experience.
How do you travel through India? I mean, how do you envision a trip there?
For one, I got to see my family, and like, one of the best meals I had was like my family is like, middle class, sometimes lower middle class, sometimes upper middle class, and like for them, like they don't eat non-veg very like all the time. It's considered like a treat, a special occasion. I had an uncle make me a goat curry that was just like some of the best shit I ever had. So I try to do a good blend of like seeing my family, because it keeps me grounded, because a lot of times I'm around artists and musicians who are more well-to-do, and like for them to be familiar with my music and stuff, they've traveled, they've been around, and then I have a really good group of like slightly older friends who are artists, who are married, who have kids. That also, it's so important for me to have like a sense of community, see like where I want to be, envision like a life as an artist, having a family. And so I do that. And then, a lot of checking in on the music scene, seeing like hip hop is big out there, electronic is big out there, indie is big out there. And so a lot of like just following up and checking on what's going on in the music scene, both as an artist and as like an executive.
When you're out there playing shows, and there's like a rap party, or there's like something after the club in India, what's the food like? I mean, is there like a late night I know India is not a monoculture, so when I say that, I'm trying to just get a story out of you because I want to recognize not all food is the same. But
Yeah, the types of places that would have hip hop are usually like again kind of like upper middle class,
yeah,
upscale, and so it's like a lot of like bar snacks and stuff like
what's that? What is the bar snack?
like Indian Chinese, Indian lollipops, chicken,
Yeah,
lollipop chicken.
yeah.
And like not that different from like bar snacks here. Which this past weekend I went to this place Pija Palace in LA.
Mm.
It's like a sports bar with an Indian.
It's gotten such great press.
It
Yeah,
was
Pizza
awesome.
Palace, BA put it like top 10. Food and Wine, I think, wrote about it.
Yeah,
It's good.
shouts out Avish. I mean, I don't know. Well, I was like, were you stoned when you came up with this? 'Cause it's the green chutney we all have at home with
Yeah.
coriander and mint. Not coriander, my bad. Yeah, maybe
Yeah.
coriander.
Yeah, sounds about right.
Yeah,
I,
just thrown on a pizza, and
Yeah.
like onion rings with like the dosa batter instead of like and it was cool. Sports bar, Indian food.
yeah, it's
Boom.
got like a beer element to it. Like it's in a cool spot. Is that North Hollywood? Where is that?
I was on Sunset Boulevard.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
at a hotel that I used to stay at when I would go out there and tour. Uh, I remember that parking lot because Yellow Wolf tried to punch me in the face there. Yeah.
You getting some fights back in the day?
Nah, I don't know. I think my bandmate had said like instead of like we're that's racist, we're Yellow Wolf, and he didn't like that. So.
Oh yeah, that common beef where like I'm you and like yeah.
No, it was just like we would be like,
You're
hey,
fuck
what's
with
up?
him.
We're Vampire Weekend,
Yeah,
We're
yeah,
like,
yeah.
hey, we're Titus Andronicus sampled, I think me saying, hey, what's up? We're Titus Andronicus. And put that on their album.
It's a good way to meet people.
Yeah, he didn't like that. He was
Nah,
like, you're not me.
the blog boys, the blog world back then, the music blog.
yeah.
It was such toxic shit all the
Yeah.
time, man. But great music at the time.
Yeah,
early
yeah.
2000s.
Yeah.
I feel I was just listening to the TV on the radio, the first EP.
Was that you who posted Satellite?
I posted that, yeah.
Yeah.
I posted that because I was like, I haven't played the EP in a minute. And I mean, that band is the most unaged band from that era. They're so good.
I think that was also like one of the things I was listening to like when I was at Stuyvesant. And so when music is like fossilized like that in your high school years and like your
Sure.
formative years, it's amazing and to come back to and like
Yeah, not the clown. Like, haha, he is not aging that well. Not
that's
the clown.
funny. I was like thinking of them
But,
recently.
yeah,
too.
well, not the clown. But I mean, great art though. I have to say, like the visual, like that was a great album cover. I remember buying it at Virgin when Virgin used to put the big album covers.
Yeah, have you seen this festival coming up with like Yeahs and MGMT and all these bands
Wait,
playing?
where are you guys at?
Yeah, they'd have. I don't know if we're ever going to reunite, so I don't
Yeah,
see that happening.
Yeah, you guys aren't on that path.
No.
But still, I feel like that band in particular, we got on a little tangent there. I want to get back and talk about Chintan Pandya winning the James Beard Award this year. Have you been to Dhamaka? Do you know about this guy?
Yeah, Dhamaka. Yeah, I've been to Dhamaka. I've been to Sema. I haven't been to Masala Wala and Sons. Definitely want to. Those places are hard to get into, man.
Literally went to Masalawal and Sons like last week. The only way we got in was like 9:30, and like we begged and like waited in the rain for 30 minutes. That was the only way I ate there.
Yeah, have you been to the chicken place?
Oh, the Rooster?
Yeah.
Rowdy Rooster?
Rowdy Rooster.
I haven't been up there.
No, I definitely enjoy his food, want to go to all those places, love what they're doing. Actually, just randomly today, a friend of mine who grew up with one of the co-founders was just like, "Do you still want to talk to those guys?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'd like to talk to those guys."
Yeah. We'll get into your restaurant kind of idea and mood board and vision because I think I'm really interested in it and hearing about what you want to do. But like, let's get back to like, that's a big moment. And I don't want to let it pass that he won the James Beard Award. His group did. This is the highest award for dining in New York.
Yeah.
And for an Indian restaurant, for a guy who doesn't look like Daniel Boulou wins it. And what does that mean to you?
It's amazing because like the company name is, I mean, it's real Indian shit. It's not like I've fought so hard to make music and like increase our visibility in places like food, music, fashion, especially music, obviously. And a lot of that visibility comes with kind of this notion of elevated stuff, or like it's a lot of like children of like professors telling these stories in Hollywood about like upper middle class, like what do you call those, first world problems and stuff.
Yeah.
And so to do something that's genuine and authentic to like salt of the earth kind of people, and like to spice your shit so it's spicy and stuff. To it feels like a moment where we're not like trying to appease a certain demographic, but are doing kind of what's real, and then getting like praised for it. And so, I think it's great. Congratulations to him. And like, I
Hmm.
think the food's been amazing. I think the fact that, it's gotten this praise in New York, and like, I come at this from the music angle of like, even outside my music, what I did at Spotify was try to give a platform for
Hmm.
Indian music to not just be accepted by folks in India or folks in the diaspora like me, but seeing what's happened with Latin music and now what's going on with Afro beats, like wanting that place at the table,
Hmm.
for Indian music. And so there's a similar thing with food where it's like, we see like Americans love Chinese food. I mean, they end up like bastardizing anything that they love, but like, Americans love Mexican food. When will we have the moment with Indian food? Obviously England has a totally different culture.
Hmm.
But like, yeah, to not, first off, like I love Indian accents food.
Yeah,
Also,
solid place.
yeah, I
Very
like that
good.
place a lot. And so I like also certain like variations on like modern Indian cuisine. But for Chitin's cuisine to also get that praise is just like a special moment.
Yeah. And I wanted to go back to your music, like Shut Up Dude and Sit Down Man, like the way your mixtapes incorporate Indian music, Bollywood soundtracks. And we're talking about like 2008. We're talking about early, before Indian culture had the visibility. I mean, you were pioneering that. So don't want to let that pass, because that was cool. Like that you were putting those beats in there and integrating.
Yeah, I think especially the Nehru Jackets album,
Yeah.
we were kind of talking about earlier,
Yeah.
like in 2012 was kind of putting together boom bap, underground rap, and sounds that people had really heard, but throwing in Bollywood samples. And
Hmm.
I mean, it sucks because we grow up with this notion of like East meets West to the point where it's a fucking cartoon, and it's just
Yeah.
like this trope that we don't want to
Yeah.
indulge. But those are the worlds that we live in, and so
Yeah.
when we can bring them together and people who aren't just Indian identify with it or enjoy it, it's a nice
Mm.
feeling, you know?
Who else do you like in New York? You mentioned an Indian accent. Are there any other Indian chefs or Indian restaurants that you're feeling right now that you just want to shout out?
My go-to before like Dhamaka, well, Sema I like a lot
Yeah,
too, and like I never would associate like oxtail with Indian food, so that was a cool dish. Indian accent has been kind of my go-to for like a nice Indian meal, and then there was a place in Hicksville like called New Chili and Curry that I liked, and it was the
Nice.
only place that you could get like momos, but they changed I think ownership, and so I go there less. But there's another place like a Pakistani tandoor place in Hicksville called Barbecue Night, BBQ Night.
Mm.
Just small shop, but their malai kebab chicken, reshmi chicken, and their chicken tikka is phenomenal. So I'll always like a hole in the wall, like kebabish in Jackson Heights. I love their
Hmm.
chicken tikka, and but as far as like other like Manhattan restaurants, I'm not.
No, these are good. I mean, this is the kind I was asking just because I'm taking notes, man.
Yeah,
I'm taking the LARR out
yeah.
to
There's
Hicksville.
a lot of good food in
Yeah.
Long Island. It's slept on. Yeah.
It's definitely slept on. All right, you clearly are paying attention to the landscape here in New York. You mentioned you and Tony talked about a possible project. You've done pop-ups, that's obvious. What's holding you back from doing a full restaurant?
Yeah, that was cool. I did like a good test
Yeah.
kitchen with the Badmash guys in
Yeah,
LA.
those guys are cool, Badmash, yeah.
Yeah, Arjun and Nakul are great people. What's holding me back is, in part, it's kind of like Tony being like, like restaurants are fucking tough, right? And
Stuck
that's
with
like the
you.
reality.
Stuck with you.
And like I wasn't doing anything creative for like 4 or 5 years, and my mental health was in the gutter. And like now I'm coming back to you know, being creative again, making music, uh, doing a podcast later this year on cricket, and I have a couple things in the works, and so I can see myself kind of dabbling with that again. I mean,
Mm.
talking with Avish at Pija Palace about it, and like talking with those guys, and like it's amazing because I I dabble in like the periphery of these spaces of fashion, of food, but
Yeah.
like music. I think I need to do the music first and then see where it takes me.
It sounds like you've got a good strategy there. You've got a lot of like music is what I hope you do most of, and bet your restaurant would be dope. But I really like Narrow Jackets was just a great release. I wish there was more.
Yeah, yeah. I
Sweatshop
am
Boys.
working on an album.
Uh,
I'm working on an album. It's mostly rap, but I'm also doing more things where I'm singing, and that's always been something I've been insecure about. So,
cool.
I'm working on that, and yeah, I've always wanted to do something with like Indian variations on sandwiches.
Hmm.
And
Give me one. Give me one that what's the number one on the board?
yeah, I mean, I guess like a Cuban, but instead of like we would use pork vindaloo, so
Yeah.
pulled pork vindaloo,
What's
um,
the bread choice?
bao bread.
Yeah, of
So
course.
it's bao sliders basically.
It's all pow. I mean, the pow at Masala Wala and Sons.
Yeah,
Holy shit! It was like
yeah.
half ghee. It was like a half
You
ghee.
got to do it.
I mean,
You got to
straight.
do it. I mean, it's heavy food. I mean,
It's heavy.
I guess I would lean into the comfort food stuff because I
Yeah.
know that like that's what I like, and I'm
Yeah.
not gonna like have any qualms about making like fattening food and stuff
Yeah.
as a cheat day diet.
Yeah, well, we don't need to frame it that way. I mean, I feel like food is enjoyed in many different ways, and we have our own diets, and it wouldn't be hard on yourself about that shit.
And I'm curious more about like you're obviously like a lot of what is westernized of Indian cuisine is Punjabi cuisine, and but there's a lot of stuff that we eat at home that isn't really like restaurant fare, and there's a lot of more. I want to look back at kind of more unearth some more Mughlai recipes that the
Mhm.
Mughals used to eat, and like unearth some more like Punjabi recipes that aren't really what you get at the restaurants. Because I am Punjabi. If I was doing something regional, I don't know if it would end up being like from the south, from Goa. As much as I love
Hmm.
the emergence of what Chintan's done with like regional cuisine,
Yeah,
what I know and what I would probably do is more stuff like that. Like
yeah.
we use carrots a lot, bitter gourd, and just these dishes that I don't think Americans associate with Indian food.
Speaking of produce, you have a gardening bug. Like you in your Long Island home, you have a garden, right? You're down. Are you planning? We're recording this in January. You were planning your spring. You're planting.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty much like regular like that. I'll grow different green peppers,
Cool.
eggplant because we do eat bengan bharta, and
Mm.
definitely tomatoes. And then I like to use all three of those in the bengan bharta. I did grow Brussels sprouts, like a bunch of stalks of Brussels
Those
sprouts. that
stalks are killer. Those
They-
look fun.
They took like over a year, and then I kind of lost interest because it was just such a slow grow
Yeah, I
that
know.
by the end of it, like the bugs had gotten through it.
I know that's the hardest thing about gardening is the rodents and bugs.
Yeah, and just knowing when to get your sprouts out. I did grow a cauliflower last year that eating it fresh it was the best gobi aloo I've had hands
When you
down.
can grow one cauliflower and you're gonna make a gobi aloo with it, it's like
Yeah. I tried
it's
to
the best.
grow okra, but it was just too little
Yeah.
of a yield. And then I do like growing like squash.
Yeah,
So it depends on what there is there. I mean, I'm simple, bro. I go to like Home
Yeah.
Depot.
yeah.
I see what they got, and then
Yeah,
I
the
bring
little
that home.
seedlings. That's what I do too in my garden.
Yeah.
I went to Lowe's.
Yeah.
I'm more of a Lowe's guy when it comes to
Are
my
you?
garden.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my shit. That's
It
my guy.
depends on what if they don't got anything at Home Depot, I'm going over to
Yeah,
Lowe's for sure.
Lowe's is my where I get my tomato plants. Like,
For sure.
I agree. I'm definitely just getting the ones that in May. I'm planting them.
It was fun to grow a lot of cherry tomatoes because we don't
Oh,
use
yeah.
that in our cooking. So to have like a sweeter taste on the
Yeah.
dishes that I would associate with like Indian food was a fun twist.
It's cool.
Yeah.
I like growing those as well. I'm not gonna let this pass. A cricket podcast.
Yeah.
So that's cool. Multi-day tests, guys wearing like the coolest fits in sports easily.
Yeah.
I don't know shit about cricket, but I'm
Me
interested.
neither.
Interesting. Is that the angle? You don't
No,
know
no,
shit-
it's not the angle. I mean, there's shouts out Mangesh at Kaleidoscope. Can I name another like a podcast?
Yeah,
company?
right, yeah.
So Mangesh, who did Skyline Drive, he approached me about doing a podcast on cricket and this very specific match, and but also the context around like India at that time.
Oh, right.
So it's like early stages, but I'm really excited to do that, and then I might do something later on in the year on like India and like Western fashion.
Oh, sick. You're a big English soccer fan too, right?
Yeah, fuck it.
What's your squad?
Yeah, Arsenal, right here.
Arsenal. You got the tattoo?
Yeah,
yeah. I see it.
Yeah.
So what's it about football that you enjoy about it?
I don't know. I wasn't like into it traditionally growing up. I guess we'd play FIFA a little bit and
Yeah.
stuff, but it was another thing that like after my father passed that I just like needed something to do. I was unemployed for a year. Gardening and planting flowers became one of them,
Mm-hmm.
and soccer, just having something to follow that's consistent, something that's global, and even to like I love the way that the pitch looks, and
Yep.
so as like a wannabe gardener, like that's beautiful. I love the buzz of the crowd. You know, if I'm like falling asleep at 8 a.m. during a
Mhm.
match, like the soothingness of those colonial bastards' fucking accents. You know, it's just like I find it relaxing. You know,
Yeah.
and again, like global, international, to have all these players come from all these different places and then find like unity on a team. It's like a beautiful thing.
Well said. I like soccer that way too. I think it's also only like 90 minutes, 2 hours. Like,
Yeah.
you know what you're going to get. It's not
Yeah.
like an NBA game where
And it's
like eight,
good, like lean back or lean forward watching, you know?
right. Are you into the NBA?
I've always been into the NBA. I went to the game last night to see the Knicks lose
Oh.
to the Wizards. I've
Oh,
always been into the
rough.
Knicks losing.
Yeah, Knicks are not. I'm a Nets fan. That's my team. So that's all we're gonna begin in.
You've
there.
been a Nets fan?
Yeah, I haven't since they moved to Brooklyn, like since in 12. So
Yeah.
like 13 years or 11 years. Yeah.
You know, we were trapped in the house during COVID like everyone else,
Yeah.
but my mom and I went to the game 2, Atlanta Hawks versus the Knicks when the Knicks were in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And just the crowd buzz outside MSG was just insane.
That will be the series that they'll always
Yeah, for now,
live up.
Yeah.
Sorry, we didn't mean to get into sports with this podcast, but
I did have some good birria tacos
Yeah.
and nachos at the Garden last night. That was surprisingly good.
wait, really?
Yeah, and like fresh off the grill birria, and like
Los Taco? Is that who's doing it?
I can't even fucking remember,
remember?
but I know that like I've been there a lot the last like year or two. I do like going to the Garden, and like the food has never been anything worth noting, and like I did enjoy what I had last night.
Back to New York City. Give me 3 classics, places that you keep going back to time and again, having been raised here. Doesn't matter if you have money in your pocket or not, but maybe if you have money in your pocket, that's where you're going. Do you have a couple classics?
Singa's Famous Pizza.
Interesting.
Indians have loved Singa's Famous Pizza for like 40
Cool.
years. There was one in Flushing, and back before modern times, Indians were still lived in Flushing, and now I think it's mostly the Chinese folks stayed, and the Indians would move to Belrose Floral Park. Then the Indians would move down to Hicksville,
Mhm.
and then along to Dix Hills is like the way that it goes. So Singa's Famous Pizza, and then I think a guy got the Ecuadorian guy who made the pizza, and they opened up Belrose Famous Pizza. And Belrose is like, you know, I grew up as a baby in Flushing and always went back to see my grandma and go to the temple, but Belrose is where I really grew up and my adolescence was, and so
Well, what makes the pie good? Like, what's happening here with this pie?
I have no idea why.
Yeah.
I think it might be the like 12-inch personal pie size.
Yeah. It's nice to have your own.
Yeah,
It's nice.
yeah, just onions and
Mm.
green peppers, and they started putting like chicken tikka and paneer on it, and we're like, no, we don't want any of that. We just want
You just go
Okay.
straight.
yeah.
Vegetarian. Nice.
I love that. I still go to Jackson Diner
Yeah.
in Jackson Heights, and I remember when it was a small dhaba with the steel plates, and
Mhm.
and before it moved to like the bigger location, and like the Clintons ate there. It was like a
Mhm.
moment that I remember. So you know, I last went there with like Riz
Mm.
for like an interview with the New Yorker, and I haven't been there in ages because I like more of like the kebabish and more.
It was
of the,
like the one place in Queens that everyone wrote about in 1999. Like,
Right?
it's like Jackson Diner, the one place. that you go-
Right, almost to
Yeah,
the point where
yeah.
I'm like, I'm like, I want to separate. No, I
No.
mean, it's still
Cool place, though.
decent food,
Decent.
cool place, all that shit on the ceiling with the.
Yeah.
But I think it's because I had this childhood memory of going there when it was just like a very small shop, and that pizzeria on the corner on 74th. That's been there since I was a little kid.
Mhm.
I you know, it's a bit of nostalgia with Jackson Heights, and I lived there for like 2 years.
Any Brooklyn places? I don't mean to put a neighborhood in your mouth, but I want to get,
Yeah, you got
There's
to
another
diversify my.
just I feel like you have a very interesting and dynamic background in New York growing up here in cool
Yeah,
areas.
we didn't go to Brooklyn that much growing up,
Yeah,
and like
yeah.
Manhattan. Oh, I mean, like as a family, my family likes Bukhara
Hmm.
in Manhattan,
Yeah,
and
definitely.
I don't know if it's because it's popular in India. It's like there's one in India, or I don't know if there's more. I haven't been to Diner or Marlowe and Sons, but my years
Yeah,
living in Williamsburg,
yeah.
I like those places a good amount. Um, but I can't separate like growing
Yeah.
up from like what I like now. So definitely, Jackson Diner and Singer's Famous Pizza are like the two that I would say growing up. Like,
Did you ever hang at the light spots in the East Village? The two Punjabi spots, those with the lights?
no, I mean Punjabi Deli I got to mention too,
Yeah, that's cool.
because I love Punjabi Deli, going to shows at Mercury Lounge, going
Yeah,
across the street
absolutely.
for the samosa and
100%.
chole bhature, and then I they were in some tough place with like financially, and then they never cleared the construction that was like ongoing for like
Mm,
years and years in front of Punjabi Deli. So me and a friend of mine, Ali Najmi, petitioned the city to speed up the construction and to get a taxi stand around the corner on like Avenue A. So that was a thing like on the organizing and activism side that I'm really proud of, is that like we were able to get a taxi stand so the guys wouldn't get tickets while they go in there to use
cool.
the bathroom.
Yeah.
Um,
Damn. It's crazy that you have to petition for that in New York City.
yeah.
It's crazy that you actually had to take that step and go to the city council and say, like, let these guys have a bathroom break.
Yeah,
It's
Ali
fucked up.
Najmi, man, great guy.
Yeah.
He definitely knew how to do that more than me. I could raise awareness about it and get it
Yeah.
in publications, but he did the groundwork. Yeah.
A combination Pizza Hut and Taco Bell. Can you walk on the side of the street with one of those anymore?
You know what? I was thinking about this the other day. So first off, I fuck with Taco Bell, right?
Sure. Who
Um,
doesn't? It's the best.
there's like I've been recording in Hicksville. I met this guy at my like cousin niece's first birthday, and he's like, "I got a studio," and I'm like, "This is great. 5 minutes from me." And there's two Taco Bells on the way home,
Mm-hmm.
and I try not to eat it. I've been trying to eat healthier and stuff on my little diet, and I passed the first one, and I'm like, all right, staying strong. But then by the second one, nah, I can't do it. Can't do it.
You're
And
just like, you're going in the drive-thru.
yeah, and then like I make it like, oh, I'm getting the bean Mexican pizza for my mom, not
Yeah.
and then I get my little Chipotle
Good
chicken.
son. You're picking up some Taco Bell for your mom.
Indian people love the fucking
Yeah.
bean Mexican pizza. There's a lot of fast food as vegetarians didn't do it for
Yeah.
us. It's not my personality. There's a lot of Indian people whose like personality is like, oh, don't get rid of the bean pizza. No, I don't give a shit if they get rid of it. But my dad liked that shit, so it's
Yeah.
nice for me and my mom to
It's
eat that.
nice.
And then you know what? I actually fuck with Pizza Hut. Like I wouldn't have said this the last 10 years, but I'm confident in like my poor taste in food. Like
I mean,
Pizza Hut's got that salty fucking cheesy shit you like. Never
Yeah.
fuck with Domino's. Don't fuck with Papa John's. They're racist.
yeah, horrible racist company. Do not. And it's the
Caesar's
worst pizza.
not bad, but
I'm from Michigan, so I gotta respect Caesar's.
Caesar's not bad.
Crazy bread, not bad.
They got the saltiness too. I like that
Yeah.
little saltiness with
The salty is good. I mean, that song's going to be in the Library of Congress if it isn't already. That song is a silly song, but what it did was it brought awareness to hybrid. Two is better than one for restaurants.
Americans just love as much shit as they can get, you know?
Did you write that one about the 14th Street one? The one on Union Square? I feel that's the one I always like passed and was like, am I gonna go? Am I?
I think I've talked about this, but it was a line that was in one of Victor's songs that he wrote. And then I was kind of like, me being like the A&R marketing guy, was kind of like, let's make this its own song. And so
Funny.
I think he did write it about that one.
Mm.
And then me mentioning Jamaica Avenue, I had no idea that there was actually a Pizza Hut Taco Bell on Jamaica Avenue. It's just near where I grew up. So
Yeah.
I just threw that in there. And then, so there's a lot of serendipity with that one.
Yeah.
And we recorded that on one mic moving back and forth. Like,
Yeah.
because it was just, you can hear it very spur of the
I mean, a
moment.
single lyric and the way you can sell it is like it's a very difficult song to pull off. Production wise, it's tight. It's a great song.
What do you think of like food being so prominent in rap music? And like, it's always kind of been like that, but I mean, I guess people are more aware of it now, but like rap music as folk music, rap music as documenting the mundane, like
It's still, to me, it's went to Carvel and got a milkshake. That's the first food line that I ever knew in rap. Right there. Fife Dog. Like that guy, that is the rap song that started it for me. And I think New York City and rap has a cool connection with food because regional food in rap is always interesting. I don't necessarily dig the rapper food personality hybrid shit. Like, not gonna name names, but like, I just don't like when they aren't all in like yourself. Like, you're all in, like you clearly care about the shit and you actually have ideas. But when it's just like the guy with the mention of the song, I don't dig that as much.
There's a aspirationalism to like rapping about food now, and like I guess some of what like obviously like rappers like love like the mafioso shit, and so I love like the
Yeah.
Italian references.
Very true. Good point. I think the Italian reference is always going to be in rap.
And
Always.
it's like are you rapping about getting a table at Nobu, or are you rapping about like picking up like a chopped cheese from the bodega?
Yeah.
Like, so I think that for me, it's more like the mundane daily life reference to eating that I like more than the I got a reservation at this place kind of thing.
Good point. I agree. I think, any sign of vocabulary and knowledge and education in rap is cool. Like, I'm very down on like, I mean, drill is a scene. I'm too old to talk about drill, but I don't think those guys are necessarily talking about like deep food cuts. Like,
I haven't, I was.
Am I wrong? Like, let's go. Like, is there a drill rapper who has a good food vocabulary?
Oh, I can't remember his name, but there was a dude who had a song that was all about this one place in Brooklyn where he would eat, and they are known to like give you takeaway cups of like alcohol. So it's again going to be like the
Nutcracker.
The not a Nutcracker. It was something else, but I think it was called Apollo's.
Okay.
But no, there isn't that. But I was thinking today about lemonade was a popular drink, and it still is.
Yeah,
and it's just like. What were you like? That's great. Like, but I was thinking about like, did you know that song was going to be so big? Because it's just such a like mundane kind of line, and like I love it. Yeah,
it's when you. I think back to regional, like when you bring in like your city that you represent on your shirt that you're rapping. It's like your vibe. If you're talking about Atlanta or talking about Houston, and there's like a cool like Nympha's a Navigation. If you're rapping about Nympha's a Navigation in Houston. I'm sure like Paul Wall. I feel like Paul Wall rapped about Nympha's.
Must have. Or like Roscoe's in LA. Or like I like that.
I mean, Snoop did a little bit of that, his early albums. I feel he has a little bit
But I love there's probably more references to food in like rap music than any other genre, because you got so many words that you got to put in a song, and then because you're repping your neighborhood and because you're talking about the mundane, I think often. Like,
yeah, I mean, you got to eat three times a day, sometimes 6.
You got to do 3 verses. Boom.
You got it. Heems, we asked all guests in the Taste podcast if you could write a cookbook or food culture book without the burden of time, meaning you have no deadline or the burden of budget. You have all the money in the world.
Yeah.
What would that book be?
Yeah, right. So I've thought about this before. I've had like a conversation or two about it, actually. I'm an ideas guy. I'm not an execution guy, but
those are the best. Straight up, you hire people to execute for real. The ideas are hard to come by.
I think this year I'll get there. But the idea I had was, again, about like diaspora, Indian history, to have some of my friends that work in food, fashion, film, art, to share a recipe from their mother and to document a conversation between them and their parent about the recipe. So it would be home Indian cooking, but through the lens of like these people that have done and a lot for visibility, but then bringing it back to their family and like what their, family's favorite kind of recipe you wouldn't think of is, but also like, where did you go to buy those spices in 1993? What was it like when there weren't Indian grocery stores? Like, would you have to go to the Latino shop to get one thing and then go to the American shop to get another? And so just kind of like documenting history through like those recipes.
I love that. I think that it taps into something that we don't cover in food media as much, which is the before. Like the before sometimes is like at the beginning of a book. Like, and then you go to the modern. But if you always are dwelling in the before, I like that. It's cool.
Yeah, and I think it's just, again, like about like food as documenting history, which is always like where everything kind of begins. So,
are you gonna get that Taco Bell check? Is that gonna happen? It has.
The
to
only
happen.
check I ever got associated with Taco Bell was that there was like a show in Korea where the promoter got Taco Bell's like first like Korean shop to pay some money, and there was a fire on the stage. So I guess like the gods weren't with it.
They weren't. But you got paid in real currency and not like Taco Bell dollars.
No, we got paid in real currency, and we ate some good barbecue on that trip.
Yeah, Korean barbecue is the same. Heems, thank you for joining the Taste Podcast.
Yo, thank you so much. This is great, man.
James Harris, welcome to the Taste Podcast.
Thank you.
Man, I like Throwing Fits. I'm a fan. I enjoy what you guys do.
Thank you.
For our listeners who don't know, I want to get a little into what Throwing Fits is, because it's not just a podcast, it's an online community, you do Patreon and all that stuff. But really, I like it. I'm not really a menswear guy. I wear clothing during the day.
I would hope so.
Yeah, definitely. I try to.
Call an HR a taste if not.
Yeah, it would be an issue here at Penguin House. But I follow it as much as I want to. But I also think what you and your co-host Larry do is you talk about New York City and LA as places, and food always seems to come into the conversation.
Yeah. Ostensibly it's a fashion podcast, but like you can only talk about clothes for so long, especially with other people that maybe aren't as obsessed with it as we are. So that's kind of like the portal entry point into just the larger conversations that we're having with like interesting people, or the conversations we're having with ourselves. And like the joke is that it's a visual art form on an audio medium. So like we can't really talk about clothes or like the color blue for that much without talking about.
You're wearing a lot of blue
out.
right now.
I'm wearing a lot of blue. It's a blue story.
Yeah.
But yeah. So it's a weekly interview podcast, and then we have our own shit, and then we're like trying to do other things.
Yeah.
In IRL stuff, making our own clothing for the first time, which is an insane challenge, and has made me really appreciate how hard it is to make good quality clothing that you actually like.
It's cool that you actually do
behind.
it, and you can't like clown on bad brands as much. Yeah.
Well, it's not the critic that counts; it's the man in the arena. So
yeah, well said. Have you ever done food collabs? Like, have you like pitched like Sweet Green, like doing a collab or any of that stuff?
One of our ongoing dream partnerships for a brand that just needs to give us a ton of money to do it is to partner up with restaurants that we really fuck with and go to frequently enough, and we shout them out enough where like people will literally go there and be like, "Hey, I learned about this restaurant on Throwing Fits."
Yeah, like Bernie's, for example.
Bernie's.
Like Bernie's, you got to have a house account at Bernie's by now.
They do call me the mayor there, or Lawrence called me the mayer there. Shout out Oliver and Rachel, the two maitre d's and managers.
So you're getting like
awesome.
A booth, you're getting like escorted in, like cutting the line, Cedar Plain style.
I prefer the best seat in any restaurant is the corner of the bar. Just the best people watching.
Yeah.
You get to chill with the bartender.
You mean like no backspace, no one behind you? Basically, you can look forward and
Yeah, it's the best people watching. You can actually watch the people at the bar itself. And then Bernie's, it's a nook, which actually I don't know if you know this, but it's the opening. It's where they shot the very opening scene in The Departed.
Yeah.
Before it was Bernie's, but it was like a pizza spot.
Yep.
That was pretty mid.
Yeah, there were some mid spots in Greenpoint, but Greenpoint in general, where you are located, and a lot of your show and your Instagram is based around Greenpoint. It's a great restaurant neighborhood. Yeah.
I was kind of prepping a little bit just because I didn't want to sound like an asshole and be like, all right, what are my top 3 spots? And realizing that I don't really leave my little bubble of Greenpoint, North Williamsburg, which is maybe something I should work on.
Yeah, is Cool World good? I haven't been there. What's the hot take?
Okay, terrible name.
I mean, it's kind of
decent brunch.
Cool.
They had a beef au jus sandwich, but with a pho broth dip.
Sounds like a French dip.
Yeah, but with like kind of like pho flavors in it. The first time I went, I wasn't really a fan. The second time I went was with all the fellas, the freelancers, our groms, as we call them.
Yeah.
Lawrence and I took them out to Cool World, and we got the off-menu fried chicken, which is fire.
Yeah.
And that was just like a fun like group time. What's crazy though is that like no shots at Five Leaves, but I was having brunch there in the window, and it was pretty empty. And it was like we walked right in, no reservation or anything, which is rare in New York now. And people were waiting outside Five Leaves. Like we sat down, and when we left, people were still waiting that we'd seen like pull up, like that were waiting when we pulled up.
So they're like doing real quotes, because like there's the fake quote and the real quote, but they're doing like real quotes, like 3-hour wait, 2-hour wait.
I think it's just like on some like some European like must hit list or something. I mean, Five Leaves is good, and I'll go there and get a fucking bowl of beans every once in a while. But
sounds great. I haven't been there since like they opened. It's been a minute.
They're still doing. I mean, they're still doing crazy business, and they're still doing egg and beet on the burger.
Do you go to D&D ever? That was my spot for a while.
Yeah, it's also. I mean, this is kind of like.
Say it, James.
My take on reservation culture.
Oh yeah,
is so fucking out of control. It's so hard to walk in to like a quote unquote regular restaurant in certain neighborhoods. Right, in certain neighborhoods in Brooklyn and Manhattan.
James, we talk about it a lot on the show. We talked to John Bonet, who runs Rezzy's editorial, and we spoken with the editors at Eater about it too.
It's like I'm not just imagining.
No,
right?
You are not imagining this. It's some of the toughest cultural, I would say, cultural tokens or cultural indicators are the restaurant reservation right now, meaning the most coveted.
Yeah.
When you say toughest.
Well, yeah, and everyone wants to get in there and put put it on their fucking IG story, make a TikTok. But it's crazy. Like
Uh-huh.
the worst thing is when you walk in and they're like, oh, sorry, it's all reservations. And like even at the bar, they're doing reservations for bar seats, which is absurd.
Yeah.
I hate it.
I mean, it's tough. I think on the flip for the restaurant operator, they gotta like space out the flow sometimes. Like their kitchens get crushed, they don't have the staff. That's like
Okay,
the
yeah.
flip side.
All right.
Yeah, you're saying some truth. So I think a lot of people are frustrated by the restaurant reservation. Why go to the small guys? Go to Chinatown. Go to places you can walk in.
Yeah, for sure.
But they're not as cool in some
Yeah,
ways.
I mean they're just as tasty, but it's also just like even like neighborhood spots are tough to just walk in. But that's why Cool World is kind of this weird anomaly because it is like no pun intended, cool restaurant, but you can kind of walk in.
Name's tough.
Yeah.
It's a tough hang.
Tough name.
Okay, Dr. Taco, that is your Instagram handle. What's the story? Is it a culinary reference or something else?
It's actually, so I lived in Thailand for a year near Chiang Mai.
Sweet.
Just after college, no job, no idea what I want to do.
You fuck with Muay Thai? You box?
I did a little Muay Thai. And it was like truly like in like some old man's backyard where there's like chickens running around and they're like the real guys are like getting their shins beaten with metal rods. And we were just like, oh, like now great cardio.
Yeah, right. Getting shredded here.
Yeah. I mean, it was fucking tough and I would love to get back into it, but I feel like every Muay Thai place in New York, people like are actually training to fight.
Yeah.
Which I don't really want to do.
No,
I just
you want to
like
just hang. So tell me about Thailand.
So I lived in Thailand and there's a potato chip brand called Dr. Taco, which I thought was hilarious. And it was pretty tasty. When I got back to New York and I actually started up an internship where I first met my now Throwing Fits co-host Lawrence. He was like, yo, you should get on Twitter. I'm like, what? It's like, this is fucking stupid. All right, I don't need like a real name like James Harris or whatever. So I just did Dr._Taco MD.
Okay.
Became known as Dr. Taco, Doc Talk, Taco, whatever.
Yeah.
And then Instagram came around and I just kept it going. And people think it's like a sex thing.
Yeah.
It's a potato chip thing.
Exactly. I like that.
Even better.
I like that even better. Do you ever like get these chips in like mail order style? Do you ever get them?
No, like the Dr. Taco chips?
Yeah.
No, I don't. This was like literally 14 years ago.
Wow.
So I don't even know if that chip brand is
It's
still
probably
around.
out of business. All right, I want to ask you about the menswear fashion crowd. Like, where are they hanging out? Where are you hanging out right now in Brooklyn and the city?
I think Finelli's is still ground zero.
So Finelli's is still ground zero.
Finelli's is still the one.
Wow.
It's a joke. Like, if you want to, the stop and chats are fucking rampant there.
Is
Can't escape.
over Lucian?
Yeah, I'm not really a Lucian fan because, like, again, it's just too hard to get in. And the food is kind of whatever.
Yeah.
The vibe, I guess, is great. But
Right.
that's probably more like art crowd.
Okay. I like the parsing of the crowds. It's nice to hear this.
Yeah.
It's really articulate.
I think right around here, like Rock Center is still trying to become a fucking thing. And like, good luck.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to pay like $25 for some little snails or anything.
Yeah. Monkey Bar's reopening, I heard. Or doing something
no, I
cool.
think it's open now.
Yeah.
I don't know what's happening. There's like a roller skate rink instead of the ice skating rink now. I don't know what's going on. It's been a minute since I've been up.
Where do you like to hang then in New York? And I'm going to get into some top threes because I really want to get into some of your brain.
I mentioned this, but I'm like not really leaving my little bubble, which I like is like this kind of off near like McGolrick, between McCarran and McGolrick on like this like, I guess, eastern side of Greenpoint, which is off like the Franklin Ave crazy strip, which is now just Takia Ramirez lines down the fucking block.
It's crazy to see Ramirez have such long lines.
Dude.
It's good stuff though.
It's really good.
Yeah.
It's the closest taco in New York without going like deep into Brooklyn or Queens that I've had that tastes similar to something in Mexico City.
Yeah.
But the lines, and again,
it's tough.
It's just
lines are a real crush.
And now after they were like I don't know what they were on that New York Times 100 best restaurants
top
in New
20,
York.
I think.
The lines are always like to the corner. Now they wrap around the corner and go down the block to the next corner.
Damn. Pete Wells actually, I think he did a good job with that list. Did you actually dive into it a little bit?
I skimmed it.
Yeah.
I haven't been able to really sit down with it. I really want to go to I have been really wanting to go to the number one.
Yeah.
And like link, I guess, another fucking
absolutely
Midtown one.
Tatiana by Kwame Nwashe. Yeah.
Yeah. It looks so good. But now I'm not even going to try.
No, it's a tough reservation. I'm sure you could get in though. Now, what places are super out? Because I think you follow like the trends and the way the ebb and flow of restaurants and bars and stuff.
I don't know. I don't really. This was like a good exercise just prepping for this because I don't really. I don't know if I really like chase like what's hot and what's not, but just like I'll just love a single dish at a place and like my OCD will just like make me go back there frequently just to get that one thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really sick and tired of like very expensive, overpriced French brasserie,
Yeah.
classique,
Yeah.
fucking like steamed fish with a cream sauce.
Yeah. Yeah, for like 48. Yeah.
Exactly. I'd rather just get like, I miss just like, I don't know, like really spicy Vietnamese food or something. What
Yeah,
the fuck is that?
definitely. Yeah, New York, there's some spot. I mean, Koreatown's got. I went to a place last night that was literally on fire. So I think spice is nice. Now I have to ask, like Balthazar, like it's a theme on your show. You guys go there with your gang, with your crew. Are you into Balthazar? Let's be honest here.
Not the food. I think
Yeah.
like New York has a ton of places where the vibes are on 10,
Yeah.
but the food is like pretty fucking mid.
Yeah.
And I think Balthazar is right there where it's like, you're going to have a great time. The lighting's great. Everyone looks good. Everyone's getting fit off. But at this point also, it's, again, just such a tourist place. There's like TikTok girlies. There's the people that are going there because they saw it on TikTok.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of content being created within those walls.
Yeah.
On that zinc bar.
Yeah.
Lots of like stands and phones being set up.
I mean, the amount of selfie sticks and even tripods at Balthazar, it's crazy. But like, the burger's fine.
Burger's
but,
good.
I don't know.
French onion's good. Seafood tower's overpriced.
Yeah. But and like just grabbing a drink there with some friends and like maybe getting a fucking bowl of fries or something is good. But for a whole meal, it's just like very mid food, but the vibes are just very high. New York is chock full of that.
What's up with Jeans? Alex Delaney's been on the show. I hear about Jeans. I haven't been yet. Is the food there good or is it just a club?
I don't know if the restaurant's open.
Oh, it's not even open.
It's even open. Shout out Benny and Ash. But like, I don't know.
Okay.
I think now there's just a bit where they're like, "Oh, Gene's not open yet." It's like, all right,
it's almost just like it's just a club space.
It's just a club. It's
fair.
It's a good, nice space, good location. Alex and Giavos, when they do Love Club, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, shout out Richmond, Virginia. I like that.
Yeah,
I like that Giavos guy.
But I would love. He's awesome. You should have him on the show.
Yeah,
he has a few restaurants. He has Stella's in Richmond, which looks phenomenal. I think he has one in Charleston as well.
My sister-in-law Maya runs a spot named Dynamo down in Richmond, so I have nothing but love for that town.
It's like a little gem of a food town, right?
Yeah. All right, we're gonna do our first top three.
Okay.
Top three slices. Let's just go.
Okay. This is hard because my number one, just based off memory, was this place called Frank's on 22nd and 1st. No longer there. It's probably a fucking bank or a Subway or something.
Into the retro, maybe not open list. It
was just like
good way to do
greasy New York slice. It was $1.50 a slice. But right now it's Leo's.
Yep.
Just Leo.
Yeah.
Shout out Joey. I think their potato pie is phenomenal, and their chopped salad and beans. And another place that's just like the rarity where the food matches the vibes.
Yeah.
You can have a great time there. It's loud, it's buzzing, great wine, great beer, great pies. So Leo, I would say Scars just because just recency bias, just had a Knicks watch party in the back there.
Oh, in that little back space?
Yeah. Which
that's
is
kind of a restaurant, but never really one.
Which is just a lot of fun. Like Hugo, this guy, the brand director at Awake New York, he just invited some friends and was passing out Presidentes, and it just felt like I don't know, like experience you can't really get anywhere.
Yeah, I mean that back room and the way he like art directs it's definitely Scars. You got to give that guy Scars some credit for like creating this mood. Is the restaurant open next door yet?
It's across the street. I don't think it's open yet.
Okay.
I think that they're still working on it, but from what I hear, it sounds like it's going to be a pretty cool like kind of 1-2 combo.
Yeah, I heard sushi. Is that true? Japanese?
I don't know how.
We're doing
Scar on.
We're doing Plywood Report here, James. We're doing Plywood Report back at Eater 2010. Shout out.
And then I don't know. See, like I'm not a pizza snob, so I was kind of struggling with this one. But the last time where I like traveled to a different neighborhood to get a slice was probably Mama Two's on the Upper West Side. So fucking good.
Applause. I love that place. I think their Pomodoro slice is one of the top.
Yeah,
and
I think I only had the grandma slices.
Grandma slices
so
up there.
Good.
Great call, James. I knew you'd come with some spots.
Thank you.
Have you ever met a chef who actually dresses well?
Matty Matheson. Not just for a chef, but for a big boy, for a big dog.
Yeah.
He puts that motherfucking shit on.
Yeah.
Whether it's like the vintage thrash vintage tees and gigantic vintage Carhartts, or like he's been doing his suit shit now that he's on the red carpet for the Bear and everything. He's been getting his suit on and he looks fantastic.
He looks great. Yeah. And he's got great ink. I mean, he looks nice. Yeah. Like his arms, he looks nice.
And just the funniest guy. And then I would say Flynn McGarry of Gem. I can't afford Gem.
Flynn, former guest.
I can't afford Gem. I went once and was like, all right, need to fucking
Gem Wine, you go to Gem Wine at least?
I can't get in. It's
Okay.
another one of these like TikTok places where I think now they're finally open on the weekends.
Yeah.
But it maybe when like outdoor seating opens back up this summer, which is actually exciting just because it means like more opportunities to like go to places.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll give it a shot, but like it's another one of these places where I'm just like, I'm not going to wait an hour and a half to have a glass of wine.
I know. So what's the Throwing Fits line on Times Square?
I don't know. It's like it's just white Chinatown. Like it's a funny little phenomenon. I really like Servo's. I think Servo's is still like one of my favorite restaurants.
Always say that when we talk about Times Square with other guests, Servo's is always, and Dimes 2 is actually a good restaurant too.
Yeah.
Oh, you pause. I love it, James. You pause.
I've been there a few times and never really was like super blown away. Probably because like an ex-girlfriend was always taking me there and I was just like, all right, like this is okay.
Restaurants are like that. They have connection to people and you just don't want to go there.
But it's like sitting outside, drinking a 50-50 Servo's martini, eating some fucking fried prawn heads, like sopping that butter sauce up with the bread. So when you're sitting outside and the sun's setting and it's like it's going like straight down Canal Street, it's a great fucking time.
Yeah.
I really want to try the new Parcel beer shop too.
Yeah, the retail down there is great. I mean, not just for food, obviously, but there's like stores down there, like Metro stores and stuff.
Great vintage, leisure center,
of course.
Street rack. Chad just wheels out a rack on the weekends.
Yep.
And right outside La Dive, and he'll just like have awesome stuff.
Yeah.
And it's just like it's a good little area to just like bop around for an afternoon, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's good for out-of-towners, too. We have a lot of out-of-towners who listen to the show just to come by and hang out down there.
Yeah, in terms of like the Dime Square like lore, I'm not really that tapped into like all the newsletters and all the fucking burner accounts and all that shit. So I don't really have time to get into that.
I like that about you. You obviously have a real strong point of view with food, but you definitely aren't like food media or like nerding out on that shit. Like you definitely have your own point of view.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like, just eat what you like.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Agree. I want to get into your background. Did you have Japanese food in your home growing up?
Not really. I think because my mom's Japanese, grew up in New York City, and like obviously there's like tons of great Japanese here.
Yeah.
But I don't know. She like always thought that American food is so oily and greasy and heavy. So when she was cooking for us when we were kids, I think she like kind of pared back on that. And then I was lucky enough every summer to travel, my whole family traveled to Japan and like hang out with the family there for like a week.
Amazing.
And so that was really cool.
Amazing. Cool.
Yeah, to like eat fucking sushi as a 7-year-old and like understand and like appreciate it.
Yeah.
Or eat a fucking 7-Eleven ramen and be like, oh my God, this is phenomenal.
So
why don't we have it over
having eel for breakfast? Do you ever have eel for breakfast? Yeah.
Eel for breakfast. My uncle one time came back, he just like caught a fish and came back and just like, we had sashimi with wasabi, just like on the fucking kitchen table that he just caught. So that was cool.
That's cool. So where did you grow up?
I grew up in Stuytown.
Oh, Stuytown.
Well, Peter Cooper.
Yeah, Peter Cooper Village. Yeah. So when you were growing up, did you go to school, high school here too?
Yeah, I went to Stuyvesant.
Name check. There you go. you were one of the down. It's funny. Did you go to school with Ryan Muir?
Yeah.
Photographer?
Yeah, yes, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm putting you on the spot. Like, do you know Ryan Muir?
I don't really know that. I don't know that many people from high school, but yeah.
And Das Races guys.
Yeah.
Heems,
Dash.
Yeah, definitely.
Manchi just had his fake going away party.
Oh shit. He's in LA now?
No, he's staying in New York, but he had a going away party because he was going to move to LA.
Yeah.
He's like, actually, I changed my mind. I'm going to stay in New York, but I'm going to go to India for 3 weeks.
Good
He's
for
over
him.
in India now, just chilling. But
that's a great episode. I'll link to the show notes, Heems, on the Taste Podcast. Now, so growing up in New York, okay, this is even a broader like question. Were there any Japanese spots that you were going to with like your family? New York?
There's a spot called Choshi on 19th and Irving.
Are you serious?
Do you know it?
Dude,
yes. So fucking good.
My God. Before Irving Plaza shows, I used to always go to there.
Yeah. And like weirdly affordable for where it is.
Oh my.
I don't know. I guess like I had a job working at Sunrise Mart one summer.
Nice.
I was a delivery van driver, which was awesome because I got paid by the hour, but I wasn't supervised. So if I finished all my deliveries, like people would call in over the phone, grocery orders. I would pack up the van, drive around Manhattan, Queens, Brooklyn, dropping these off. Mostly like Japanese families.
Yeah.
And then if I got done, I would just fucking find a quiet street, park, take a nap for an hour.
Yeah.
Make an extra $16.
It's the best.
Yeah.
Sleeping, to get paid to sleep. I definitely had jobs in my past.
Yeah. I got towed once, but the owner of Sunrise Mart, I forget his name, but he's a legend. He was like, the policy was like, you got to pay for it. He's like, don't worry, I got you.
Oh, that's nice. That's generous of him. Now, let me ask you this: growing up and going to all those spots in like Little Japan in the East Village, I feel like Sunrise Mart was almost like Erewhon before Erewhon was Erewhon, and they like kind of missed the boat. They could have been Erewhon.
Yeah, I think. But what's cool is that the guy was like, he still has Sunrise Mart in Industry City now.
Oh, cool.
He's just kind of like, yeah, I don't want to like spread my time. I'm like 70 something. I'm just gonna retire and chill. I forget his name, but he's just kind of a legend and like quietly was like the Don of like Little Japan on like East 9th Street.
Yeah.
All the little places on St. Mark's. Another funny growing up in New York Japanese story. Went to Nobu for the first time. I have a rich, eccentric uncle
Yeah.
who likes to take out my family when he was in New York when we were kids. And we went to Nobu and we're like fucking eating the, black cod miso, whatever.
Always, yeah.
My mom is like, hey, my Japanese mom, she's like, do you have any white rice that I can just have like a side of with like all this like salty ass food? And they're like, no, we don't. And she's like, but this is a Japanese restaurant, right? So whatever, shout out Nobu.
That's funny that they would not even do that. So they wouldn't serve you. Were you sitting next to anybody big there at Nobu back in the day?
No,
like
but my eccentric uncle ordered some fucking expensive scotch, and I apologize to the producer and the listeners for doing this, but he was like, he took a sip and he just goes, and everyone in Nobu just like looks over at us like we're the crazy people. And then later on, they couldn't find my dad's coat, and my uncle, it was for my dad's birthday, so my uncle had bought him a headlamp for like doing shit around that I don't know what. And so he puts on the headlamp and is going through everyone's like minks and like fucking like
this
overcoats.
is the eccentric uncle.
This is the eccentric uncle. He's standing on a chair. He's like pawing through everyone's, multi-$1,000 overcoats and furs with a headlamp on.
I love this guy. Is he still here? Is he still in your family?
He's still kicking it out in Seattle, but he's like a big like a
crypto
prepper guy.
Oh, he's a prepper guy.
Yeah.
I was gonna say crypto, but probably prepper is more accurate.
But what's crazy is him and his wife was a nurse, and she was a nurse and doctor here. She was an epistemologist, I believe, during like the AIDS epidemic in New York. So when she saw that shit happening in China in like January 2020, she sends an email that we were all like, just like, she's overreacting, da-da-da. It was so prescient, and like it was so like, stock up on toilet paper, medicine, prescription pills that you're gonna need. This looks like the big one.
Wow.
And then we were like, oh, whatever.
Did you actually buy the toilet paper, or did you?
No, fucked up.
All right. Now you worked at Complex. I wonder, did you cross over with First We Feast and Chris and those guys?
Yeah.
I feel like with like hot ones coming out of First We Feast. What a miraculous,
crazy
story. What a great. I love Chris. He's such a great guy. Yeah.
And still the same dude he was like before the ship went nuts. But I was friends with Sean Evans. I actually was one of the. He was a freelancer for a lot of channels, mostly sports, but he would do some stuff for Complex Style, which I oversaw.
Yeah.
Just like more like jokey stuff. And we became friends, and he's like, yo, I think they're like offering me this position. I was like, yeah, come to New York, bro. Like,
wow.
Come,
he wasn't even
come
in town.
do it.
Wow.
No, he was still in Chicago.
Wow.
And then Sean is like the goated interviewer, and like the amount of research they do is nuts and second to none. But at the time, Lawrence and I actually had a YouTube show called Fashion Bros, where the whole ethos was we'd have on a guest and kind of ask them like left field questions, which now is like pretty standard, but back then it wasn't like, hey Migos, like what's your inspiration for the next album? It's like, yo, how much weed do you smoke?
Yeah.
What's on your Netflix? And it would like kind of actually elicit like human responses, not just like.
Well, I love your
bullshit.
show, Throwing Fits. You do. It's that's why it's so great. Like you guys just go in and you do some research, but you also just have great on your feet style.
Yeah, thank you. But Sean and I, we used to be F train buddies. We take the F train home together.
Nice.
And he was like, yeah, like the show, like, I don't really know if like asking people questions. And I was like, yo, just ask crazy questions. Like, don't ask the questions that everyone else is asking. Ask the questions that you as a person actually would want to know. And then like, you'll actually connect with them and get it out of them. And now like, I'm not.
You get producer credit here, James? I mean, I feel like there's some like producer credit.
Johnny's just the homie. The last time we hung out, it was like he invited us to his crib for like a fight night.
Yeah.
Ordered like an insane amount of Maria takeout.
Yeah.
So
wait, that's funny.
That's probably more
Maria takeout.
The amount of Maria.
That's
amount
like
of Maria
too
takeout,
large, probably.
Well, the amount of Maria takeout probably exceeds the monetary value of whatever I would have gotten as a producer.
Sean, I mean, they deserve it all. Those guys worked their ass off for many years. Chris and the team,
Yeah,
Justin,
Chris, Sarah,
Justin, all those guys. Yeah, definitely. All right, next top three spots. Just for like a good drink with a friend that has a vibe that you just want to feel the vibe.
Oh man. First up, I think is A Bar. Do you know this place?
Yeah.
It used to be called No Name Bar.
Yeah. My
Now it's just
brother-in-law
A
owns
Bar.
that spot.
Are you serious?
Like, for real. Yeah.
Dude, the place is
I
awesome.
stay above it, yeah.
It's a
sometimes.
fucking hole. It's a shithole, which is what I love about it.
It's a great bar.
But it's also like weirdly classy and like well done. It's just like dark wood, but it's all just metal guys, like crazy fucking face tattoos.
Yep.
Um,
Sounds about right.
Never crowded, which is great, but always a good amount of people. So there's always like a little bit of buzz, but you can always just walk in and get a fucking bud. Love that place, especially in the summer, because it's like a cool little cave.
Backyard's great. And
great backyard.
I hear through the family grapevine, through the family group text, maybe there'll be some food in the backyard at some point.
Ooh.
It's being worked on.
I think I've had like a pretty sketchy hot dog. It's back there when they've had like pop-ups or something.
Yeah, they could improve it, but I think just like okay, what's the number 2 spot?
Number 2, just because I walked by it today, I was like, oh shit, I can't wait to like start hanging out here. Is the Lot Radio again? Kind of just in my like North Williamsburg, Greenpoint bubble. You ever hung out there?
No, I haven't been over there.
It's great. It's just an open fucking lot that they have a shipping container where on one half of it, it's just like DJing, and they have like a live stream online radio show just constantly going. And then the other half is like beer, wine, sake, a few like bites, potato chips, coffee in the mornings. And then it's just this open space with just like a hodgepodge of chairs. They have fire pits going. It's not like twee and millennial and corny.
It's a little like Wild West Brooklyn, like back in 2005 kind of
and
vibe.
like people are just smoking weed. You can smoke cigs. A lot of times people just BYOB, which is kind of funny.
Interesting. For a bar, that's not the great business model.
But they've like done a good job of like slowly extending out seating. It's like porta potties.
Yeah.
They're building out seating like on the street there.
Do you ever go to the Yard in Gowanus back in the day? It sounds similar. I don't know.
No,
okay.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just always a fun time and good for a big group. And also like you end up just meeting people and talking to people. So it's a good spot.
Okay, one more 3.
Yeah, one more 3, maybe. Okay, I had a few contenders. One was Commodore, just because like that's literally the only bar I still go to in my mid-30s. I was going to my early 20s.
Remember
and
when
it's
that
still
place
like
opened?
Hasn't fucking changed. And
No.
the hot breast is still slaps.
It's good. They were like hot chicken before hot chicken. Before like the meme, yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Good spot. Good choice. I mean, it's still dark and kind of dingy in there.
Yeah, so like I wanted to kind of maybe do a non-dingy spot, but then I was like, I was like looking around like place I've been recently, Nancy's in Tribeca, but just because that's such an outlier for Tribeca.
Yeah.
And it's I'll only go there when we're like waiting for a table at Frenchette.
Yeah.
So it's like, all right, gonna go to a overpriced fucking fancy spot. Let's go to Nancy's before I have to save money.
Damn, Frenchette. What? That's a tough hang. That's an expensive table right there.
We do business with one guy who has the bat phone there, and not that they like hook it up, but he'll always put it on his company plastic. So like, we'll go.
Well, then end of story.
Yeah,
Like,
that's why we're
let's
still
move on.
doing business with this guy.
Let's move on. I mean, yeah, and that is part of your business in the menswear and fashion industry. Is all about the plastic.
Exactly. And then, so then like a non-shithole, I would say like maybe Four Horsemen, just because it's like just in the window. Again, it's one of those places where it's hard to walk in now, but if you get there early enough or in an off hour, you can just sit in the window and like drink some wine.
Yeah.
And some great
James is there, just doing his thing.
Sure.
Other James. He's been on the show. We've talked about. I'll link to that one. That's a one from a few years back. Our interview with James Murphy and the chef there, who's still I'm blanking on his name. Place is excellent.
Yeah.
Love Four Horsemen.
There's another spot, Fraude in Fort Greene.
Yeah.
You know it?
Yeah, I do.
Four Horsemen alum.
Yep.
One of the best steak tartares I've ever had in my fucking life.
Yeah.
I didn't know if it was like how to classify it. If it was like Italian or French or whatever, but it was.
What? So it's tartare. I think egg. I think really great beef. I think capers. I think maybe shallots or light, mild onion. What
It had some pickled daikon on it.
So it's going that route.
Yeah,
cool.
Which was like not in like an Asian-y way, and I can say that, but I can say that. But it was just fucking like very funky and delicious. I don't know.
I mean, tartare when the beef is nice and it's like fatty and you can taste the beef. It's not just cold.
Yeah. So nice they named it twice.
Appreciate you doing this research. You were just in LA. I was just in LA. We were messaging back and forth. You got stuck in going to some pretty middle of the road restaurants. It sounds like. So my question is, LA, where do you like to go there?
First and foremost, it's a Maddie Matheson recommendation is El Russo Tacos.
Yes.
In Echo Park.
Yes.
Fucking phenomenal.
Yeah. I mean, wait in line.
Yeah.
Like wait in line at El Russo.
I've never actually experienced a line there.
Yeah.
Even like a Saturday at like noon or 1 o'clock. Which is nice. I mean, not like walking right up, but I think I went there twice in one day the last time we were there.
Damn.
Yeah.
That's a lot. That's a lot of carne asada.
I don't really know. It's like when we're in LA, the schedule is so fucking packed that it's like, all right, we know El Russo, we know it's fire.
Yeah.
That's definitely a must hit. And then it's like in terms of driving around and like experimenting with other taco spots, I would love to do that. And I'm always getting recommendations and ask people recommendations for their favorite taco spot. I'm the doctor after all. But it's just always El Russo, literally number one. And then from there, we don't really have the time. And this past trip fucking sucked because as we kind of bring on more guests of like a higher celebrity caliber, you enter into this fugue purgatory of like nothing's confirmed.
Yeah.
They're gonna be fucking late, like I was today. Sorry for being on my
all good,
my star behavior.
Yeah.
And
little
like,
rock and roll there, buddy.
So we fly there and we're like just waiting around the hotel, and we can't commit to like going to dinner with friends. We can't try out a new restaurant or like a place we want to go to. We can't drive out to a taco truck because it's like we need to be near the hotel, near the gear, at our action stations. So it's just eating at the fucking hotel.
Oh, brutal.
Which is trash.
So you've channeled the frustration of business travel in LA. I feel like it happens to a lot of our listeners who've been there for a variety of reasons, and you just have to do the work because you're traveling there, but you can't eat the food, which is on SGV or West Side.
I really want to try Pijat
Palace.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say,
how was it?
Great. I mean, lots of great things going on there, including the owner. He's incredible, and I think you should have the guy on your show. He's got a lot of shit to say.
Okay.
Not to produce your show. And
Speaking
speaking
of
of
that,
that,
on time.
have you had any good Throwing Fits food crossover episodes that we should know about?
I guess Maddie Matheson.
Yeah.
He was like talking about the bear before anyone knew what that was. So we were like, what are you talking about?
You're like, was he like, this show actually is going to be good?
He's like, yeah, I got a show. We're like, what? So we didn't really have anything prepped for that. Maddie was awesome. I'm trying to think who else. I think it's just like, we always just end up talking food with everybody because everybody has like their favorite spots. If we're in LA, we'd be like, yo, what are the best spots in LA right now? We just had on this fashion editor from Berlin, and we're like, where are we going in Berlin? And she's like dropping things, and it's like, all right, when I do go to Berlin, I'm going to listen back and take notes. Right now, I have no fucking idea what she's talking about. But I think Maddie Matheson's probably the most. And then I guess Chris Storer,
You've had him
creator,
on? Oh, nice.
Bear.
I've had we've had his sister on, Courtney.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there was definitely some food talk there, which is like him being the bear and also just a food lover.
Let me ask you this. You're a man of tattoos, and we're working on a story about bad food tattoos. Tell me, what's the weirdest, oddest, strangest, worst food tattoo you've seen in the wild?
Oh, man. When I think of food tattoos, I just think of like the stereotypical like radish, oyster.
Yeah. Those like super twee stick and poke ones.
Yeah. Not even that, but like kind of like the more traditional American ones. Like every tattoo era looks so dated at a certain point.
I know.
And right now, like, I mean, the shit I have is going to look dated at some point and fucking stupid. I think.
What are you going to do? What's the plan?
Nothing. Just
nothing. Cover up.
Keep hiding them.
Yeah, keep hiding them. Yeah.
Get more. Lean into it.
Yeah.
I don't know. But like the traditional American ones of like chef's knife, like fucking a turnip.
Yeah, primals of the cow. You know,
exactly. Like the pork cuts.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I don't know. It's kind of this weird like whiskey and boots era of masculinity in the early 2010s.
It's pretty funny. Eliza's working on a story for Taste, and I'm going to link to that if it's live by the time we do that. Now, let me ask you, you guys, when you open your show, you always talk about what you're wearing, but you also talk about what you're drinking, which I appreciate. The fact that you're thinking about what your beverages, that we do this show many times a week, and we don't actually talk about the water we're drinking. Because
the Diet Pepsi.
You got Pepsi, Diet Pepsi. Well, nice choice. What drives you to think about your beverages?
I don't know. I think like during the pandemic, we were definitely boozing more on the pod. And that was kind of just a fun way of like, oh, like I got this wine, and the wine guy at the wine store said it's just like shit from Portugal and da-da-da-da-da.
Nice.
So just like another, again.
Big Vino Verde energy.
Yeah. Just a portal of entry into a conversation. And I think like with food and drink and style and how you like present yourself or how you consume, there's definitely similarities, and also with cooking especially. I think when we talk about like what the guest, I mean, usually it's pretty boring. It's like, all right, we're drinking tap water.
Yeah.
Guest wanted a seltzer.
Yeah, you get but you go into like, sparkling water, seltzers. To me, it's not boring.
I think bottled water culture is like snobby bullshit, but it's I don't know. I think that it's important to like kind of keep levity of like the fact that Yeah, like we're an online podcast and mainly online community, but like linking up with the homies to like grab a drink or something is still like everything should still be rooted in like the real life actuality.
Yeah.
And not just only existing online.
Right. And just having like, you're talking about emojis and shit. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
it's like real life shit is like
We want
drinking water.
Modelo's with the fellows and Buds with the buds.
Yeah, I like that. Speaking of buds with the buds, last top 3, group hang New York.
Oh,
3
it's tough.
spots. Yeah, I know. I'm putting you in the spot. You're doing a good job, though. Appreciate it.
I mentioned servos. I still think that that's like
Yeah.
one of the for real go-tos. Like if someone's visiting, that's like a must hit. Although it's kind of hard with a big group.
Yeah, so that's the question, right? So we're going 6+. Maybe Resi isn't working because 6+ is hard on Resi,
Yeah.
even for a Tuesday.
I would do hot pot, maybe like Peking duck, just some classics.
Oh, Peking Duck House?
Yeah, Peking Duck House. My favorite big group spot in Chinatown closed down during the pandemic. It was called Senor. It was actually in Indonesian.
Oh, okay.
Like a restaurant or a restaurant basement.
Yeah.
Bernie's
Yeah.
is still my number one.
That credit, house credit's really getting upped right now.
Oh, yeah.
These references.
Oh, yeah. Great. Yeah, worth the wait, even though, again, like the line's crazy.
Nah, I love it.
And then I guess another place that's great for a group is Astoria Seafood. Have you been there? Just like showing up, picking out your seafood you want, and it's like, all right, you want it fried, roasted,
Yeah.
blackened. Like it's pretty simple, but it's just a great fucking time with a bunch of people.
And getting out to the borough, too. Outer borough, yeah. You said Astoria Seafood?
It's an Astoria Seafood.
Yeah,
but it's
yeah.
like not, it's pretty South Astoria. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
not too deep into Queens or anything at all.
Absolutely. What are you cooking these days? Yourself?
Usually pretty simple, just like salmon.
Really?
My
Like
doctor's
that's
like,
like the health. Like,
my doctor told me I had high cholesterol, but I think it's because I had drank coffee before my blood
James,
test.
are you on statins yet?
I started, but I went off
5
them.
mgs?
I don't know.
Okay.
The generic shit because I have terrible health.
Like how? What's the dose though? Like
Oh, I don't fucking know.
okay. Big is it horse pill or is it like tiny pill?
Tiny.
Yeah, so you're doing like 5 mgs. I mean,
I think so.
there's a time in a man's life or a woman's life that you got to get on the statins.
But I stopped taking them because I'm convinced. I'm pretty sure that I drank coffee before my blood test, and that's why my shit was so fucked because I didn't know that I was taking a blood test.
Oh yeah.
So I stopped, and I'm going in tomorrow morning.
Ooh, the fast is on.
I have a reminder at 7 a.m. to not make any coffee.
Yeah.
So I will be fasting and grumpy.
Yeah.
And
that's the
so
worst.
it's been salmon over like rice with some Japanese pickles and like a roasted veggie.
like that.
On the weekends, I'll just take kind of like whatever's left over in the fridge and do like just chop up whatever vegetables and make like a pasta sauce. I've been doing a lot of Salad Freak.
Oh,
Shout
Jess.
out Jess.
Yeah, Jess, guest of the pod. She's been on the show. She's great.
I'll try to make like, I guess you would call it meal prep, just like, all right, one for tonight, one for tomorrow, but I'll end up just eating both servings.
I mean,
just be out of left.
it's
for
truly
next
the
night.
worst thing about meal prep is like, I want to go like 1.5.
Yeah.
And then I got half left and the half doesn't work.
And then I'm like, wait, I just ate 2 pounds of Brussels sprouts. Am I gonna be okay? Like,
Because you can't stop because it's good. And it's like in the moment. I'm with you.
fucking
I
good.
know what that means.
And then I did get sucked into the TikTok chef abyss.
Yeah.
By this guy, Laurent Desjardins.
Oh, wow.
Do you know him?
No. Yeah, the TikTok chef thing is interesting. I mean, it's definitely obviously.
Laurent Desjardins. See, there he is.
There he is.
Check him out.
Yeah, I'll check him out. So you're actually cooking from his recipes?
More just like taking a screenshot of what he posted in his caption and just kind of like figuring out myself.
Yeah.
But like watching it like once or twice. But he's doing it in a way that's like actually makes it look very fun. And I know that sounds incredibly corny.
Nah, I follow it. Do you follow Pierce Abernathy at all?
I don't really follow any food
Yeah,
people because
yeah.
then I just get too fucking hungry watching like scrolling.
I respect that.
Yeah.
James, we asked all guests on Taste Podcast if you could write a cookbook or food culture book without the burden of time, meaning you have no deadline, or the burden of budget, meaning you have all the money in the world to create this book. James, what would that book be?
I'm sure this has been said many, many times, but again, going back to my year in Thailand and the amount of like street food there, which is like literally just that's what you eat for every single meal. Just like going to that market or whatever, just every market or as many markets as possible throughout Thailand, the north of Thailand, Indonesia, just that whole region, and just kind of like I don't know. I think it would be better just to have them have them do the work,
Right.
Have them write out the recipes because like I'm not gonna fucking be like, oh, and then I experienced this like
No.
I befriended this guy who made the best lek hang I've ever tasted, and he would always give me extra fish balls and da-da-da. Just let him tell his story and like get him paid, I guess.
Oh, so you're like altruistic and you're
I would
giving them
just
some of the money.
I would suck Random House dry by giving them as much money as the author, the American author, would get paid as well. So everyone just makes the same amount of money.
Respect that, James.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. I think the Southeast Asian cookbook is in your future.
Southeast Asian, yeah, for sure.
James Harris, Throwing Fits, thank you for joining the Taste Podcast.
Thank you.
This is Taste is hosted by Eliza Abarbanel and me, Matt Rodbar. The show is produced by Shalia Harris and Pat Stango and edited by Clayton Gumbert. Theme music by Steve Rydell. Visit Taste online at tastecooking.com and make sure to subscribe to our newsletter for updates on all cool things that are happening.